welcome to my reflection video.
Week 1 is about observation. I have been focusing on bread slice this week. It's kind of a funny story how I picked this thing. While eating breakfast and staring at the bread, I started noticing how artistic the inside looked. So I checked out the Young Ten's website, where he talked about how bread ferments and gets fluffy, with all those interesting little holes. I wanted to capture the texture, so I first tried painting it to get a sense of the details inside it. But my painting skill wasn't great, and the result was pretty rough. So I switched to the blender to model it to get a clearer image. It's been tough since I have a newbie. As you can see, my modeling is pretty basic, and learning how to add texture was a challenge. But here's what I ended up with. I wanted to recreate the material of the bread, with each hole like a little house coming together to make a whole size. Week 2 is about tinkering. This week, I switched gears to focus on puppies and its voice. I planned to use other objects to mimic the puppy's bark instead of using actual puppy sound. The idea came from the class. Since we're drawing dogs, I thought it would be fun to add some sounds. It reminded me of fellow artists who use everyday objects to recreate sounds. One day, while cleaning up after dinner, I noticed rubbing my wet hands on the table made a sound similar to the dog's bark, but making a high-pitched sound like a puppy's bark is very tricky. I had to rub the table really hard to get it right. So my final pieces used the sound of finger friction to simulate barking, and I combined it with images to create a video. Week 3 is about found objects. The video we watched in the class really inspired me, especially the idea it turned something original into food. So I decided to work on something related to food too. There's so much cool stop motion stuff online, and a lot of it's really funny. Kind of like playing house as a kid. So my story is after cement size stayed for a while, mold grows on them, and that mold can be used to make delicious cakes. The hardest part was dealing with all the photos. Some steps didn't turn out well, so I had to retake them, and clean up afterwards was very real hassle. Things got messy, and putting everything away was a big job. Week 3 is about found object. This week I decided to stick with animation. I think this random plot has a lot of potential from a special perspective. We did a group discussion in class, and the draft animation I created is a prototype for my final pieces. I thought a cricket story like the needed a unique short film format, so I find inspiration in a video that I combine real objects with hand-painted backgrounds. I think editing was probably the toughest part. I had a lot of materials to fit into the background, so each piece had to be adjusted step by step to fit with the music. It was a lot of work, but patience helped me get through it. At the start, the scene looks like an undefined space with grass and trees. But as the story progresses, and the camera pulls away. The reality is, it's just a small pieces of land. Week 5 is about object-oriented ontology. I find the topic a bit confusing and hard to separate from human thought, but after discussing object changing over time with others, I realized it could be a great approach to the theme. I connect to the time, to seasons, then to the heat of the summer and the cold of the winter. And it led me to choose an ice cube as my object. Ice cube naturally change shape with the season and environment, from freezing to melting and refreezing, without any human input. It was a great chance to 3D modeling, so I learned to use Blender, but I ran into a lot of issues. My Blender won't add keyframes so I couldn't move camera, and the software will crash when I work on the material. But fortunately, my classmate Johan and the corner helps me out, and I finally complete my object. Now it's about my reflection. I have been really happy past few weeks, even though the assignment was stressful and confusing at times. I'm mostly like, hey, it's actually really fun. I'm enjoying this. Of course, there were challenges, especially with blenders. Every problem I feel overwhelming, but I can find every help from anywhere, anytime. My favorite assessment was tinkering on the second week because it made both me and my classmates laugh during the class presentation. I also learned to observe things more closely and think more creatively. Overall, these weeks have taught me to see things from different angles and try new approaches to things I used to take for granted. I'm really glad to have discovered new perspectives and hope to bring this insight into my own work.